Yo, what up? We're back, and this week it's for a big card with UFC 244. So we're going to be breaking down this full card, but make sure to comment, like, subscribe, put down there who you're betting on, and if you made money last week on the Singapore card, because we actually did pretty well on that, so that was a pretty good showing. Hopefully we can keep it going here. And also, I did put out a video for the PFL playoffs coming up this Thursday, and so if you want to check that out, the breakdown video for that is available on the channel as well. But we're going to get right into it with Julio Arce taking on Hakeem Dawodu in the first matchup. And Dawodu, he's going to be getting a step up in competition. He did win 3 fights in a row versus lower level UFC guys. And now he's going to be taking on another prospect in Julio Arce. This is his 3rd consecutive pay-per-view spot, so the UFC may be pinpointing him as a future seller for that Canadian market. And he's facing Julio Arce in Arce's home state. So he is going to be the traveling guy here. He is very explosive. He's a great striker. And for Julio Arce, he did bounce back from that loss to Shaman Rice. He had a nasty head kick over Julian Erosa. And he's 3-1 in the UFC himself. He's finished 2 of his wins. And he has beaten the bigger names, but he does come into this fight as an underdog here. But so for Dawodu in this fight, he's going to be, probably the more explosive guy out there, and he does have a good jab, good 1-2, good jab, right hook. He really wears opponents out with hard body shots. He'll throw a lot of front and round kicks to the body. He'll attack the body with punches. He does throw some hard leg kicks inside, outside. He really did a good job of that in his last fight to set up the head kick knockout, went low and then eventually went high. And he has big power in his kicks. I mean, he was eating up the legs of Austin Arnett in a recent fight. But he is flat-footed, and he doesn't move his head off center line when he throws hooks. And it does make him a little bit susceptible to straight punch counters. He likes to throw a lot of hook uppercuts, wide punches in the pocket, and he can get countered with the straight shots. He'll also admire his work a little bit after he lands. And his chin to me is a bit questionable. He's still never been finished by strikes, but he did get dropped by Danny Henry and submitted. And I think he has an edge when, when he gets hit, he will look to counter back, and he tries to kind of be a bully in there, which could get you knocked out or could get you the knockout. And he does have, 7 knockouts and 10 wins. He just recently got that nasty head kick finish over Hori, but he did struggle a little bit with the movement in that fight, and Hori did land some decent shots. But Dawodu, he's a good grappler. He's strong in the clinch, hard knees, short punches. He's pretty explosive with double legs, good body locks. But on top, he isn't great. I mean, he has decent ground and pound, but he's still green on the ground. He doesn't really trust his jiu-jitsu enough to advance to dominant positions and try to finish the fight. But he has very good takedown defense. I mean, very explosive, hard to hold down. And I don't see him looking for takedowns in this fight at all. I see him trying to keep it on the feet. He has great cardio. He comes in shape. And he's going to be looking to walk Arce down, cut the cage off, use those leg kicks to set up combinations. And I think he has the tighter hands in close range and could potentially bully Arce in the clinch. But Julio Arce, he's also a technical striker. He's a southpaw, and he's a very good boxer. I mean, he's a former Golden Gloves boxing champion. Very good jab, like a lot of those Tiger Schulman guys. He'll double, triple up on it to get into range. Really good at kind of, just using it as a distance finder. And he likes to use the left hooks as well. And he likes to use the lead hand to get an opponent to throw, and then he'll pull counter. So he has a nice jab, right hook combination, nice 1-2. He'll go body head with combos. Really nice straight punch flurries and flurries with uppercuts, hooks inside. Pretty fast hand speed, and he's comfortable in the pocket. He slips and rips well. And when he goes forward, he has flowy movement. He'll create angles, switch stances, mix in head kicks mid-combination, nice front kicks. He doesn't really move his head when he blitzes forward, and Shaman Rice was able to time him, meet him in the middle. And when Arce, got hit with those straight shots, he did get dropped in that fight a couple times. And he can't allow fighters to control range and kind of back him up. Julian Erosa was able to back him up continuously, make it kind of a close fight before Arce got the knockout. But Arce landed a nasty head kick as well in round 3 and finished the fight. And he's willing to take punishment, keep coming. He listens to his corners well, and he can adjust in fights. He isn't a huge power puncher, but he has 4 knockouts in his career and great chin. He's never been finished by strikes. And he's a strong grappler. He likes the dirty box and the single collar. He's good at getting in on body locks, driving his opponents to the mat or circling to the back. he quickly jumps on the back really well, even from standing position. He'll dig underhooks well. He'll control opponents against the cage and, look for trips, just ride opponents out. And his match with Shimon Rice, he did get hit with some nasty elbows in the clinch. He got cut up horribly. He was bleeding like a stuffed pig in that fight, but it didn't deter him at all. He continued to fight. He eventually did get the back in one round, did some good work. But he doesn't really attack the legs with takedowns. He really just tries to get takedowns in the clinch. And he's always looking to take the back. He has 5 rear naked choke victories. And in this fight, I'm not sure he's going to be physical enough to tie up and get in his positions versus Dawodu. I do think he should look to grapple in this matchup, mix it up. But Arce is very excellent takedown defense. I kind of doubt he's going to get takedowns in this match, but we'll see. And Arce was submitted one time via guillotine. And he has great cardio. He's never going to quit or slow down in there. And he usually picks it up in the third round. But for this fight, I think Hakeem is going to be the aggressor. I think he's going to be the fighter controlling the cage. I see Arce trying to pull counter with the left hand, create openings off the jab. And I think that in the pocket, Hakeem definitely has to be careful because he's gotten dropped in 2 UFC fights with pull counter straight punches. And I do feel that, Arce could time that, land that, and knock him out. But I do feel that overall he hits harder than Arce, throws faster. And in this fight, I think Dawodu's going to have a strength advantage. And I think he should use his striking to back Julio up, use leg kicks, use his jab. And he has to be wary of Arce trying to duck under for doubles or circle to the back. But I think if he uses the clinch to strike, elbow, land knees, I think he's going to have an advantage there striking. And I don't think Hakeem will be able to finish Julio, but if it goes to decision, I see him winning the decision by leading the dance, putting more damage on Arce. For Arce to win, I think he needs to finish Hakeem with a straight punch or an opportunistic submission. I definitely see Arce as the fighter with the better chance to finish the fight. But ultimately, I think Hakeem is too good an athlete. He's bigger, and I don't think Arce is going to have the punching power to finish Hakeem. So my pick is going to be Dawodu via decision here. And up next here, we have a fun fight with Lyman Good taking on Chance Rencountre. And Lyman Good, he's still looking for his first win in 2019. He had that very bad showing in February where he got submitted very quickly versus Damian Maia. We just saw how bad of a motherfucker Damian Maia is this weekend, though. So, that's not the worst loss in the world. But Good isn't very active, and this is the first time he's fighting more than once in a calendar year since 2015. So if he wants any hopes of making a run towards the top 15, the time is now. He's 34 years old also, so he's getting up there in age. And he's a kickboxer. He has really plus boxing skills more than anything. And like his other Tiger Schulman teammate, Julio Arce, he has a great jab, good forward pressure, and he likes to use the jab to back opponents up, force them in the pocket, and get them with their backs near the cage. And that's where he'll land some good 1-2s. He'll land nice overhand, straight right hand leads. He's good at slipping shots, coming back with the left hook. He'll follow the left hook with a straight right hand or right hook. But he's flat-footed when he strikes. He kind of needs fighters to trade in the pocket with him to be successful. And if fighters throw long punches and move and kick and, don't stay in front of him, Good doesn't throw much volume. And he'll just get hit, reset, try to walk forward into the pocket again, and kind of get, behind on the scorecards a little bit. But Good will exchange in the pocket with hooks, uppercut combinations. He definitely has power. And he also likes to grab that single collar clinch, dirty box. When opponents try to grab the tie plum on him, he will unload with combinations, dig to the body with big hooks, come up with uppercuts. He was able to knock out Ben Saunders that way with uppercuts in the clinch, but everyone knows Saunders' chin is a little bit suspect these days. But, when he fought Zaleski dos Santos, he became a little bit timid due to the power. He continued to punch himself. After he was hit, he was trying to pump himself up, and he told his corner he didn't want to get knocked out. And I just don't think Good has that dog in him. I think he'll possibly quit if he's pushed hard, but he will throw some occasional round kicks, body, head, but almost as exclusively a boxer. And his defense on the feet isn't the greatest. He doesn't move his head at times as he enters inside. He's susceptible to leg and body shots, or leg kicks and body shots, and He does have good durability, though. He's never been finished by strikes and 10 knockouts, so obviously you have to be wary of his power. But he's not a grappler. He's someone who wants to use their takedown defense and, get-ups to keep it standing. And he will go for takedowns if he's getting beat up, but he hasn't really won a fight with heavy wrestling in a while. He does have some decent single and double leg takedowns in the past. And in top position, he likes to take the back, get rear naked chokes. He gets the hooks in well. He has good control. but I don't think Lyman's going to be able to take down a wrestler at the level of Rencountre. And good striking doesn't make it pretty easy to get a hold of him in the clinch, and good lets fighters get on single legs pretty easily. But he does have good balance, and opponents, when they push him up to the cage and chain wrestle, he's pretty good there at defending takedowns. But Demian Maia was able to take him down within 30 seconds of the first round probably, and so was Gillespie dos Santos. So he gives up takedowns. He could definitely give up takedowns, especially early in fights. He does have some solid get-ups. I mean, he's good at using the butterfly hooks and stuff in the head to try to create space, get his back on the cage and stand up. And he was able to stand up that way versus Demian Maia, but in doing so, he gave his back. Maia quickly jumped on the back from standing position, put the hooks in, and then locked in the rear naked choke shortly after and closed the show. And that was the first time Lyman Good had got finished in his career. He also has 3 rear naked choke submissions, and he's shown good cardio in his 3 and 5 round fights. In this fight, it's all about range for Lyman Good. He has to cut Rencountre off, pressure him, force him to box, where Good is going to have the cleaner hands, and he can't allow Rencountre to touch and move until he times the takedown. But Chance Rencountre, he's going to be looking for the 3rd win of the year. He has 2 consecutive wins after losing his debut to Bilal Muhammad, and he entered his fight against Ismail Nardiev as a massive underdog, and I actually called Rencountre to win that fight. I actually bet on him as well, and he enters the underdog again in this fight, and he's a southpaw who likes to fight long on the feet, good lateral movement, fakes, feints, and a very nice straight left hand. Pretty good jab, and he will throw a good check right hook as well. Good right hook, straight left hand combination. He'll throw nice leg and body kicks, and he finishes combinations with leg kicks very well. Nice rear leg front kicks to the body and the head, and he's light on his feet. Kind of has a hands down style. He's a little bit hittable in the pocket. He doesn't have elite speed, and faster fighters can beat him to the punch or kick. And Ismail Nardiev was able to light him up a bit in exchanges. But after Rencountre established his wrestling, he was able to go forward, land some shots on Nardiev, especially in round 3. He was feigning the takedowns, throwing nice straight left hands that backed Ismail up. And with Chance Training and Alliance, I think that his footwork is going to continue to improve. His defense is going to continue to improve, and he's going to become more diverse in his offense. So he's going to continue to get better as a striker, in my opinion. And he has a good frame. He's 6'2", 74-inch reach, and fairly athletic. So he has the movement to go along with it. He's a southpaw. So I actually think, he's a pretty decent striker, and he also has elite durability. He's never been finished by strikes. He's willing to keep on coming. He takes a lot of punishment in certain fights and just can keep on ticking. And he has 6 career KO TKOs. Most of those are due to ground and pound, but Chance Rencountre, he's a very good wrestler grappler. He's a former college wrestler, and he's mixed submissions into his game very well. Great timing on his shots, excellent single leg takedown, which Good has struggled with in the past. And he also does a good job of feigning the jab or the right hook, ducking under for the single. He'll also catch kicks, get takedowns. Good blast double as well. And in his last match, he was able to get some very nice body locks. In top position, he has excellent control. He's very good at lacing the legs and makes it harder for them to stand up. He passes well. He'll get to half guard where he'll land heavy punches and elbows. And he kind of just waits and forces his opponent to make a mistake. And if they give the mount or the back, he's going to take it. And his control on the back is incredible. He'll get his hooks in. He's excellent at flattening opponents out. Looks very heavy in that position. And he was able to almost finish Nardiev in that position multiple times in their fight. And he'll also lock in rear naked chokes. He has 2 of those in his career. And he's also pretty good at using the front headlock position to snap down opponents, look for front chokes. He also has a very nice darce that he'll lock in from that position or from half guard because of his long arms. And Chance was able to put Ismail down with takedowns in every round or catch kicks and take him down. And when he did get the takedown, Nardiev was really never able to stand back up until late in round 3. And Rencountre did get taken down with some beautiful double legs against Bilal Muhammad, but he doesn't accept being on his back. He quickly works to scramble back up. He's hard to hold down. He does give his back to stand back up. Bilal was able to take the back and ride out the 3rd round, but I don't think that Lyman Good has the ability to do that. Lyman Good does have good back takes, but he doesn't have as clean of entries in his takedowns. And, I don't think he's as good of a grappler or as active as a grappler as Belal Muhammad. And I don't think that he has the striking necessarily to set up the takedowns like Belal does. But Rencountre has 3 submissions. He's never been submitted. And he has amazing cardio. I mean, he does not get tired in there. And I actually think this fight is a bad matchup for Lyman Good. I don't really understand the line here. Rencountre isn't a guy who's going to stand in the pocket with Good, and he fights long. I think the leg and body kicks along with the straight punches are going to give Good issues. I don't think Good will be willing to move into range recklessly because of the wrestling, and if he does, I see him getting taken down, and I think that single leg is going to be there for Rencountre all day, and if he gets takedowns, I don't think Good is going to be able to get back up. I think Chance also is the fighter who can make adjustments. I think he's the tougher guy, and I think if Good is able to land on him while he's moving, he'll start to pressure Good, take the shots, make it more fast-paced, wrestling-based. And I just think that Rencountre is going to be able to implement his usual game. Move, use long-range striking, walk Good into some takedowns, go forward, catch some kicks, get some takedowns, make it ugly, push the pace, and maybe even get the rear naked choke or just a decision victory. And I'm pretty confident in this, and I'm going to say Chance Rencountre gets another decision victory here. And in the third fight of the night here, we have a women's fight with Katlyn Chookagian taking on Jennifer Maia. And Katlyn Chookagian, she got back in the win column following that split decision loss in her title eliminator fight to Jessica Ai. And she was going to be likely the next challenger for the title, but she took some time off, got married, and she, got passed over by Liz Carmouche. But this is likely another number 1 contenders fight. If she gets the win here, I just don't really see who else they're going to give to her. But Jennifer Maia, she's riding a 2-fight win streak. She's won 8 of 9 fights, and she also may be looking at a title shot with the victory here. We all know the deal with Chookagian. She's a mover. She likes to fight long, use a lot of volume, even if she's throwing at air. And with Jennifer Maia, she's always someone who likes to use louder movement, walk opponents into punches. But Maia, is the harder hitter probably and would fare better in a war. But in Maia's 3 UFC fights, she used movement to walk opponents into her jabs, 1-2s, jab overhand rights, and she would flurry inside with hooks, uppercuts. She will also attack with jabs to the body, to straight or overhand rights. And it's going to be interesting how she plays this fight because she's faced 3 grapplers in her first 3 UFC fights. So maybe in this fight, she's going to come forward with more of a pressuring style. I don't really think her style of moving and punching is going to be successful in this fight because I don't think Katlyn will ever truly commit to her shots unless it's Maia coming forward. And I think she's going to be content just kicking and being long range, fast, out volume in Maia, and I feel Maia probably has to pressure, try to make this more of a boxing-oriented fight. I think she should look to get the double underhooks in the clinch and slow the fight down, control from there, maybe even look for a takedown. I do think Maia is the physically stronger of the two, may be able to land some elbows, short shots in the clinch, wear and control on Katlyn a little bit. But I do rate Katlyn's jiu-jitsu, so maybe it's smarter to not hang around in her guard. Just keep it in the clinch on the feet. And I do like Maia's hand combinations, but I think that Katlyn is cleaner with her footwork, punching and kicking. And we did see Jojo Calderwood beat up the lead leg of Katlyn with low kicks, so maybe that could be part of the game plan for Maia also. But Maia isn't usually a heavy leg kicker, or even really a heavy kicker at all. And Katlyn, she did fight a similar opponent to Maia in her last fight in the way Jojo fought her. Jojo was moving. She was forcing Katlyn to come to her. But the difference is Jojo is, much better, a more active kicker than Maia. And I actually see this as a bit of an easier matchup than Jojo was. Chookagian has that stiff jab, clean 1-2s. She'll throw the 1-2 to the head kick. She throws a lot of front kicks to the body. She'll use that front, the front leg side kicks. And she's definitely the more diverse striker. She'll mix in Superman punches, spinning kicks, question mark kicks, hook kicks. And she can definitely give them more looks than Maia. I think Katlyn is going to be able to come forward behind her feints, long shots, kind of control the distance. And I think she's faster. She throws straighter with her punches. And she's just going to be able to land cleaner. And I think if Maia starts to pressure forward heavier, Katlyn will use level changes to keep her honest. And I think she has enough footwork along with her front kicks and her jab or straight punches to keep Maia off of her. And unless Maia is able to get a hold of her by catching a kick or backing her up, mauling her against the cage, I don't really think she's going to win on the feet. And on the ground, I feel Katlyn probably has better jiu-jitsu, Maia isn't really someone who gets takedowns, grinds on top either. And I just think Katlyn is more experienced. She's better at winning decisions. Just a little bit cleaner, better technically. So my pick here is going to be Katlyn Chookagian via decision. And up next here we have another fun fight, a heavyweight fight, and it's Jairzinho Rosenstruik, and he's getting the Arlovski test. He just defeated Alan Crowder in 9 seconds, and the UFC seems to love feeding Arlovski to these young prospects, see if they're ready for that top 10, and most fighters have been able to get over on Arlovski, even if it was controversial, but Jairzinho, he's an undefeated knockout artist. He has many knockouts as a pro kickboxer, and he's finished 6 of his 7 wins by knockout, including 5 in the first round in MMA. And he has good stand-up. He has heavy inside-outside leg kicks, great jab, good power in his hands, and he will throw a jab right hook or a jab overhand right combination, powerful counter left hook, and he has a really nice uppercut left hook. And he's fleet of foot for a big man. I mean, he can close distance quickly. He'll throw head kicks, flying knees, front kicks to the face. So he's pretty diverse with his striking. And he likes to throw jab or straight right hands to head kick combinations. And in close range, he's very explosive. He'll let his hands go. He can allow opponents to control the center, though, and back himself up towards the cage a little bit. And kind of just stand stationary and try to catch opponents with left hooks or uppercut counters as they come inside. And he did land a left hook right uppercut to a head kick combination that put Junior Albini out in his UFC debut, and he followed that up by dropping Crowder with a jab and then finished him with really vicious ground and pound. And he has 6 knockouts in his 7 wins, like I said. He's never been finished by strikes, but his grappling is questionable. I mean, his takedown defense is not good. He was taken down multiple times in round 1 by Junior Albini, and Albini was able to land a single and body lock takedown. He was also able to pass his guard. He moved into side control. He took the back. He had a pretty deep Kimura. And, when he fought this guy, Sergey Kovalev, he was taken down as well and couldn't get back up to his feet. He did deny Kovalev from taking the mount, and he showed some small defense on the ground, but he had no get-ups. He was controlled for the entirety of the round. And, he does look heavy in top position. He'll posture up, rain down some big shots, but he allows fighters to control him in the clinch as well. And he puts himself, just against the cage too easily. Junior Albini was able to put him against the cage with double underhooks several times. And he can be a little bit too worried about his takedown defense after he's taken down and not really let his hands go. But Andrei Arlovski, he bounced back in a big way in his last time out. He defeated Ben Rothwell. He set the record for heavyweight significant strikes in a 3-round fight, and he really put it on Rothwell. And he's used to being the fighter to test these up-and-coming guys, and he hasn't been an easy out. I mean, his last 3 losses to up-and-comers in Tuivasa, Walt Harris, and Augusto Sakai, the decisions could have gone either way. I mean, the Augusto Sakai fight, in my opinion, was one of the bigger robberies of the year. And Arlovski, he's still been very competitive. Even if he's picking up the losses, he's still hungry, and he's looking for the first 2-fight win streak since 2018. And he's still a good striker. I mean, he has a nice jab, good low kicks, oblique kicks. He has a really nice straight and right hook. He'll throw the right hook left uppercut, right hook combination, nice spinning back fist, good round kicks. And he was throwing some spinning back kicks and hook kicks to the body, head kicks in his last fight. He was throwing a lot of diversity out there and a lot of combinations. He had a clear speed advantage over Ben Rothwell. He took advantage of that. He was working off the jab to create combos, and he was able to back Rothwell up with the jab, and I think he has to do that in this matchup also. He was also able to stun Rothwell multiple times, but he couldn't put him away, and Arlovski doesn't have that same finishing ability he used to have. He's much less risky in his fights, and due to that, he hasn't been knocked out himself, but he doesn't get many finishes either. He hasn't gotten a knockout since 2015, and his last 8 fights have all hit the scorecards. He does have 17 career knockouts, and his durability, man, is kind of a mystery. I mean, it seemed as if his chin had gone completely, but in recent fights, he's 8 bombs, had no issues, and he's only been finished by strikes 3 times since 2011, and only once over the last 3 years. And but he has been finished 11 times by knockout in his career overall. And in this fight, Arlovski is going to be the better grappler. And since joining American Top Team, he has implemented more of a clinch game into his arsenal. When opponents get aggressive, he'll tie up with them in the single collar, push him to the fence, try to dig underhook, double underhooks, dirty box, throw knees. And in the clinch, Arlovski is a very good sacrifice throw. good trips, good body locks as well. And I do feel if he can get into a body lock or trip position versus Rosenstruik, he's going to get the takedown. He hasn't shown the best top control in recent fights, but that's been against more polished opponents on the ground. And if he's able to take down Jairzinho, I'm not sure how much damage he can do, but I do think he can mix in some top control. And I do think he needs to mix in takedowns or even attempts, make Jairzinho a little bit gun shy. And Rosenstruik, he's shown in the past you can get him thinking if you take him down, and he doesn't throw as much. And if Arlovski can work takedowns or clinch control, I think it'll help open up his striking as well. But Arlovski isn't a submission threat. I think when he gets takedowns, he should just worry about the control because Jairzinho's big, he's explosive. You don't want to get swept or you don't want him to explode back to his feet because when Arlovski gets takedowns, he needs to have some control time in order to recover his cardio. He is 40 years old and he has shown that he gets tired a little bit in grappling heavy fights. And he only has 3 submissions, and the last submission he got was all the way back in 2005. And he's been submitted 1 time, but that was against Josh Barnett, who's one of the best heavyweight submission artists in the history of the heavyweight division. And, I could see him tiring in this match if he blows his load going for too many takedowns or he can't control on top and gasses from Jairzinho standing up multiple times. But if he can mix it up and actually have top control, I see him having a good chance of winning the fight. And this is a tricky fight to predict. It's a massive step up in competition for Jairzinho. And in his 2.5 rounds in the UFC, he was dominated in one of those rounds. So it's like he's only really won 3 minutes of UFC competition. And I think in this fight, Arlovski's going to be looking to back Biggie Boy up and clinch him up against the cage. And, Biggie Boy almost allows that to happen. I do feel Arlovski will get in that position at points in the match. And in the clinch, I feel Arlovski is much more well-versed, especially with trips, body locks. And if he takes down Rosenstruik, I think he should be able to control on top, and that will give Jairzinho something to think about. And if he takes him down, I think that, it will open up some of his striking as well. And I think that Jairzinho needs to be more aggressive in this fight, try to control the center. He can't solely look to counter because I think Arlovski's too seasoned for that. He needs to go forward, use his advantages, his explosiveness, his speed and power in close range. And I think that he's still too young in his career to defeat a guy like Andre, though. I see Andre being the quicker fighter with his feet, and I see him being the guy who's moving forward, feinting takedowns, mixing it up, going to the body. And I think after he gets a couple takedowns or gets in the clinch, I think it's going to open up the opportunities for him to flurry against the cage. And if he gets in trouble, I see him being able to survive using the clinch and resting. And I'm going to say Arlovski gets a decision victory over Rosenstruik. Arlovski's proven he can go 3 hard rounds, eat big shots versus heavy hitters. And I see him winning this fight and handing Jairzinho Rosenstruik his first career loss. Man, up next here we have another great fight. Edmund Shahbazyan taking on Brad Tavares. And Edmund's getting a big test, a big step up. He's 3-0 in his UFC career. He's undefeated overall. And he did defeat Darren Stewart, but I would say Tavares is the next tier up. Tavares is a guy who's fought, the who's who of the middleweight division. And Shahbazyan, he's just 21 years old. He's ran through his last 2 opponents very quickly. And he's really only had 1 tough fight in his entire career, which was the Darren Stewart fight. But Shahbazyan, he's big, he's physical for the division. He's finished all but one of his wins early in the first round, and he's coming off a quick submission over Jack Marshman. And Shahbazyan, he has an excellent jab. He'll throw a double jab, left hook, very nice 1-2, and he'll throw a double jab, 1-2, fast hand speed, and he will let heavy hooks and uppercuts in the pocket go. He will try to overwhelm opponents early, and if he sees they feel his power and he can get them out of there, he will. He's finished 7 of his 10 opponents in under a minute and 30 seconds. Heavy kicks, but he doesn't really throw them too often. But he has good rounded front kicks to the body, heavy rear leg head kicks. And when he kicks, though, he tends to float his chin out there with his hands low. He doesn't have the best defense when he strikes. And I would look to wrestle in this match because he stands tall. He leaves his chin exposed. He doesn't really move his head. And opponents who can eat his power or slip and counter can connect. And Darren Stewart was able to land some big shots in their fight, especially when he had Shahbazyan's back near the cage. And Shahbazyan did show a good chin because Stewart can crack. And he also showed composure because when he was hurt and tired, he was able to tie Stewart up, take him down. And he survived that 3rd round by getting a takedown, sealing the fight. He does have 8 knockouts in his career. They were all in round 1. And Shahbazyan, he's a wrestler. Obviously, showed that off against Darren Stewart. And He was able to outmuscle him in the clinch, take him down at will, basically. And he's good at landing his double jab a couple times to get the respect, then feigning into a body lock or a single leg or a double leg. And he has solid double legs in space, but he's best at getting takedowns against the cage. Good chain wrestling there. And when he gets in on opponent's legs against the cage, he will transition very well from doubles to singles to body locks. He'll come up into double underhook, circle to the back. And he was able to get takedowns a couple times and take the back of Darren Stewart a couple times that way. And that was really the only fight where you've seen him get extended. And Shahbazyan, he hasn't had a submission yet in his career, so he hasn't really shown that facet yet. But for Brad Tavares, he's stepping in here on short notice. He's had a long layoff, and he hasn't fought in over a year. He's had, quite a few injuries. I think he's had a problem with a broken arm. But he's going to be looking to rebound from his 5-round decision loss to Israel Adesanya. And Adesanya was able to dominate Tavares with the striking. He put a lot of damage on him. Probably beat him 4 rounds to 1. And Tavares had injuries going into that Israel fight already. So hopefully he's 100% coming into this one. But Tavares, he's very skillful. He's a technical striker. He snaps off a great jab, nasty leg kicks. He'll double jab in a range. There's a lot of 1-2s, 3-2s. And his left hook straight right hand is just very nice. And you also throw an overhand right to a left hook to the body. He's always feinting, faking, controlling distance, throwing a lot of volume. And he's kind of as good at getting off first. And he'll go first, beat you to the punch. And he uses a lot of lateral movement, his jab to gauge and control distance, pull you into bigger shots. Very nice straight right hand. Very good tight left hook. And he's good at getting off first, like I said, in exchanges, especially with that left hook. He can land that left hook off the break really well and stun a lot of guys. We saw that against Talis Latis. He has solid flying knees. On the feet, he's always technical. He has a high guard, good defense, never will get really emotional. He doesn't put himself in harm's way. And he sometimes gets his hands back a little low on his jab, and he can get countered with hooks. And he seems to be a bit more stiff if you force him to throw shots in the pocket. He's definitely more comfortable flowing, hitting and moving, staying sharp on the outside. Israel Adesanya was able to target the body with kicks, and that did hurt Tavares. And he also was able to, land shots down the middle because Tavares likes to have that high guard. So shots down the middle like front kicks, straight punches, uppercuts, knees, along with the body shots obviously are available. But overall, Tavares is hard to hit. He's constantly walking his opponents down, and he attacks all parts of the body. And he's flash power in fights, but he's more of a decision fighter. He has just 6 knockouts, but he's only had just 3 in the UFC and the Ultimate Fighter, which is like over 20 fights. Tavares, he's not really an offensive wrestler, but he is strong in the clinch against the cage. He'll dig underhooks well. He has very good head positioning. He'll work short shots from that position, slow the fight down. And he did shoot a couple single and double leg takedowns against Adesanya, but he was unsuccessful most of the time. He did get 1 takedown in the fight, but he didn't really do anything with it. He took back position, but Izzy was able to scramble back to his feet eventually pretty quickly. And in Tavares' last 10 fights, he's had just 5 takedowns. But when Tavares gets takedowns, he does like to take the back. And his top control really isn't the greatest, though. And in this fight, he's going to look to keep it on the feet, in my opinion. His takedown defense is very good. He has a great sprawl, digs underhooks very well, excellent at disengaging with really nasty right or left hooks off the break. And when opponents try to clinch with Tavares, he will let his hands go in combination. He has a great switch if you take him down. And he's very good at using the hip ride to bounce right back to his feet. He'll belly down into single legs to stand up from bottom. He's just hard to hold down overall. And he's very hard to control. He hasn't been submitted since 2010. And he has been submitted just 1 time by Court McGee. And that was on the Ultimate Fighter, so it was an exhibition bout. But, he did get submitted there. And he does have 2 career submissions early in his career. He shows good cardio in all his fights, and he definitely has a major experience advantage. Tavares has spent almost 4 hours inside the octagon. He's fought over 20 times in the promotion, and he's been ranked inside the top 10. He's fought guys like Yoel Romero, Robert Whittaker, Israel Adesanya. And other than that, other than the fact Edmund has some hype and Brad's coming off injuries in a layoff, I really don't understand this line. Edmund is going to have the chance, like always, to blitz Brad early and knock him out, especially with Brad coming off that layoff. But I think if Brad forces Edmund to go backwards and can defend the takedowns, use an anti-clinch game, he's going to beat his ass. I think his jab is sharper than Edmund's. I think he's faster. His leg kicks will be a huge factor. I think he'll establish the jabs and leg kicks early on to get Edmund backing up. And when he starts to hurt the leg, make Edmund less dangerous, more stationary, I think he's going to be able to land counters and land harder shots along with combinations inside. And I've gone with Edmund in all 3 of his UFC fights and do have faith he's going to be a good fighter, but I don't think he could control Brad against the fence. I don't think he can hold Brad down on the ground. And I think at range, Brad is the cleaner striker with the more diversity. I see his leg kicks adding up being a big issue. And I'm going to say Tavares comes back in a big way and gets a dominant decision victory here over Edmund Shahbazyan, where he puts on a striking clinic. So I'm going with Brad Tavares via decision here. And up next here, we have a fight that I don't really have too much interest in, but Shane Burgos taking on Makwan Amirkhani. And Shane Burgos is another Team Tiger Showman guy. He has a lot of confidence, and he's going to be a significantly better striker here. He has a big reach advantage, and he has a very good jab, good overhand right, but he does keep his hands low, but he has very good head movement. He'll slip return with counters. And in this fight, I don't think he's going to be in much danger on the feet in terms of getting hurt by Makwan. I mean, unless Makwan lands one of those big flying knees or something, but I think the hooks to the body, the constant forward pressure wears a lot of guys down. I definitely think it would wear Makwan down if he could stuff the takedowns. And he's always attacking leg kicks, front kicks to the body. And he likes to counter with combinations in the pocket. Good job of making opponents pay for throwing punches. Very clean lead uppercut. And his cardio is just fantastic. I mean, he doesn't get tired. He's shown a great chin throughout his career, and he really relies on it with his style. But he was knocked out by Calvin Kattar. He did get dropped by Kurt Holoba. And Burgos, he's not really an offensive wrestler. And in this fight, he's obviously going to be looking to keep it on the feet against a guy who's a high-level wrestler in Makwan. And he does do a good job limp-legging out of singles, getting to the cage, circling away. And when he gets opponents hurt, he likes to, finish on top. He'll go for rear naked chokes. He also is pretty good at, keeping his level low to defend takedowns. He'll use good sprawls. And he hasn't really had to defend many takedowns in the UFC yet, but he was taken down by Charles Rosa, and he defended a lot of Rosa's takedowns as well. And in his match with Kurt Holoba, he was dropped and threw up an armbar from his guard, got the submission there. So he does have some ability off his back. But for Makwan Amirkhani, he's just not a very good striker. He's a southpaw. He'll use a lot of ladder movement, jabs, right hooks to maintain distance. And he was saying in his last fight that he did a lot of boxing training, and he was looking to show some improved striking, but it didn't really look that way in the fight. I mean, his striking still looked a little bit, his chin is right in the air. He's very hittable with his hands. He does have good flying knees, jumping kicks, and he's explosive. I mean, he has a 10-second knockout, but he holds his hands low. He has his chin high. He backs up in straight lines. Does a lot of reaching to try to get into the clinch or on a leg. And opponents who have good distance control are going to make him pay for that. And his takedown ability does make opponents hesitant to get close enough where he could shoot, and that's how he survives in a lot of fights. And he will try to goad opponents into wars so they can get aggressive and he can level change, get the takedown. And he just has the one career TKO with the flying knee. And he's been rocked and dropped multiple times. And he showed great recoverability. I mean, he's never been finished by strikes, but he's very, very hittable. And against a guy like Burgos, you don't want to be hittable like that. But he's an elite wrestler. He doesn't strike much at all. He'll shoot takedowns very quickly. Excellent single leg. And even if the initial entry isn't great, he could stay connected, get it to the mat. And he's very good at using the single to create a scramble, take the back. Good double legs. But his doubles can be a little bit more telegraphed. And he does tend to leave his head on the outside on the takedown attempts. But he has good guillotine defense. He'll usually get free, have top position. Very good in scrambles. And on top, he's very heavy. Good control. Good elbows from half guard. Mainly, he'll use side control, and he's great at controlling from there, landing short elbows, knees to the body. He'll also stand up in opponents' guards, land punches, pass the legs into side control, and he'll look for front chokes, guillotines, good rear naked chokes as well. And he's also pretty good off his back. He has a good guard. He'll attack triangles, arm bars, sweep to top position. And he's going to need to make this a grappling match. I mean, if this stays on the feet, it's going to be Burgos all day here. And the thing is, I just don't think Makwan has the striking to contend with Burgos. I think that Burgos is going to, he just has to be a little bit more composed here, because he does in some fights, he can look like he gives guys too many ways to win. I mean, where when he fought Kurt Holloway, he allowed Holloway to drop him, and he kind of can do some stupid stuff where it doesn't show the best fight IQ. But for this fight, man, I just don't see Makwan being able to control him on the ground for 3 rounds, just hold him down. I don't see him getting a submission. I think Burgos is going to be scrambling when he gets taken down, and I think on the feet, he's going to have a significant advantage. I think he's going to hurt Makwan a couple times. And do I think he's going to get Makwan out of there? I'm going to say he does. I'm going to say he gets a second round TKO in this fight. So I'm going with Shane Burgos to get the win here. Man, this is a prelim. That's pretty crazy, but another great fight. Johnny Walker taking on Corey Anderson. And Johnny Walker, I mean, he's super dynamic. He's extremely athletic. He's clearly improving rapidly. And his movement and distance control, I mean, is just really good. I mean, very long karate stance. He's light on his feet. 82-inch reach. He utilizes it very well. He'll throw a lot of fakes, feints. And he's always giving his opponents different looks. Very good head movement. And he counters very well. Very nice straight and overhand right counter. Throws a lot of oblique kicks. He'll throw a lot of front kicks, nice head kicks, and he'll follow the head kicks with straight left hand, right hook combination. And his head kicks are very fast. I mean, he's unusually athletic, man. I mean, very creative. He'll throw axe kicks, jump knees into Superman punches, spinning back fists. And when he finds his range, he'll throw in combination. He could throw kicks without setting them up at times, though, and he can't be countered. In his last fight, he landed that nasty flying knee that took out Misha in like 30 seconds. And we didn't really learn anything from that fight, other than he's just really dangerous. But, I mean, he's explosive, man. He has 14 knockouts in his career, and he's been finished by strikes, though, 2 times. He can be a little bit open to being hit. Like I said, he can throw some unset up leg kicks. He can come in with his chin high at times going for jumping attacks. And if you can extend him, which we haven't seen yet, he can be a little bit slower with his movements, be a little bit more hittable as he enters. And he's actually not a bad grappler, though. I mean, he showed that he's extremely dangerous in the Muay Thai plum against Khalil Roundtree with those elbows. He has also his nasty knees. And he will throw jump knees from the Muay Thai plum as well. And he likes to get that single collar position, trap the wrist, come over the top with elbows. Good takedown defense, good sprawl. He'll circle to the back. He'll try to hit switches when opponents take him down. He'll attack front chokes to defend takedowns. And he will throw hard elbows when opponents get in on his legs against the cage. But his takedown defense is a little bit questionable in certain fights. I mean, if he misses on these big actions, he can be there to be taken down. He was taken down multiple times by a fighter who isn't nearly the wrestler Corey Anderson is in Henrique da Silva. He's also had other fights where he's been held down on the mat in the regional scene. And when he does get taken down, he does initially have good sweeps. He has dexterous legs. And he could be improving a lot off his back. Who knows? But in some fights, he will allow opponents to advance position, cement position, dominate them on the mat. And those guys weren't nearly the grapplers that Corey Anderson is. He uses a lot of athleticism to escape positions instead of technique. And I feel he could gas out being stuck on bottom against a good wrestler. But on top, he's very good. He distributes his weight well. He floats on top. He'll move to dominant positions. He likes to get to the mount, to the back. And he doesn't seem to have great submission technique, but he will attack with the chokes, and he'll rain down brutal ground and pound. I mean, he really throws down hard shots when he gets in top position. You do not want to be under this guy. But he does tire as the fight goes on, especially in the third round. And if Anderson can extend him, get him down, he may finish him. But Walker will never give up. I mean, he showed incredible heart. He's been dropped multiple times in fights and continue to fight. I mean, I've seen him in on a single leg using head movement. So he's like really, using everything to try to hang in these fights when he's hurt. He has been submitted by Klidson Farias, who's in the UFC. And, he's just extremely calm, though, in the cage, which gives him great cardio, great composure. Just the ability to see things as they're coming and just be ready for it and just be explosive, just do whatever he wants in there. So he's definitely confident and he's ready to go here. But Corey Anderson, he's looked phenomenal recently as well. And, he has the skill set to be a champion, but he just has one glaring weakness, which is his chin. He's been rocked and finished many times, and if you can hit Anderson clean, he doesn't take punishment well. This is going to be his first fight of 2019 as well. He's had some disputes with the UFC. He's wanted a title shot and wanted bigger name, more respect, and they haven't really been giving him that. But, he's getting a huge opportunity here in Johnny Walker. And Anderson, he has a chip on his shoulder coming in this fight. He wants to prove a point and kind of expose Walker, I guess, in his mind. But he has very good lateral movement, good inside-outside movement, great jab, body head, good straight right hand, overhand right. Good, he slips well in the pocket with his head movement, good counters, good check left hooks. And he has good feints, false starts. He'll fake level changes, come over the top with overhands, uppercuts. Good combinations such as overhand rights to left hooks and left hooks to the body to overhand rights. He'll mix it up, change, which hand he's throwing the punch to the body and to the head. And he throws a ton of volume. He never really lets his opponents rest or get comfortable. He'll throw nice leg and body kicks, jump knees as well. And he's much more of a volume guy. He doesn't have that power. He only has 4 knockouts in his career. And he has been KO'd 3 times in his career. So he definitely has had a problem with his chin in the past. But he said that he's put on weight and he's gotten a little bit better with his defense, which he has in terms of keeping his hands up. So maybe his chin is a little bit better. And he's just a tremendous wrestler. He's been absolutely dominating opponents in recent fights with wrestling, high-level guys. He's landed 20 takedowns in his last 3 UFC fights. Great job of ducking under, getting double legs. His long arms, they allow him to lock his hands easier, get nice slams. He has strong drive on his doubles, and if he can't take opponents down, he will drive into the cage, work from there. And very good in the clinch, good control. He'll jack up the underhooks on either side you're trying to exit. He'll land hard elbows, knees, good doubles, singles, chain wrestling. Good job of reshooting quickly. If opponents deny the attempt, he'll throw a couple punches, reshoot, wear them out. And on top, he's very strong. Great job of getting a half guard, trapping an arm, throwing hard ground and pound. And he forces fighters to give their backs. He has great control there. He'll flatten guys out. And he's great in the scrambles also. He usually will win and stay on top. Hard to hold down. Good job of creating scrambles, wrestling and wrestling positions to get back up. His cardio is also elite. He'll definitely be the better conditioned athlete in this fight. And I think Anderson, if he gets one takedown, it could lead to a victory. Anderson does have great top control. He will tire him out, do damage in my opinion. He has no submissions though, and he's more about controlling, winning the fight. And I'm actually going to go with my boy Corey Anderson again here. I know he probably won't be the popular pick, but how many times is Johnny going to be able to land one of these low percentage moves and get a knockout in the first round? If he lands another flying knee or a spinning back fist to finish, then it happens, but eventually that's going to run out, and I just feel that fighters have to know the deal by now. This dude is extremely dangerous early. You have to be careful getting inside, and I just think Anderson's going to be able to get him on the legs, get the takedown, and expose Walker on the mat. I see him being able to tire him out, control him on the ground, and if he gets out of the first round, I think he has a very good chance to win the fight. I think if he gets a takedown early, proves to Johnny he could hold him down, he could potentially get Johnny a little bit gun-shy, and I do think inside, in the pocket, Anderson has better boxing, and I think Anderson has crazy cardio, and I'm going to go with Corey Anderson via decision or third round TKO with ground and pound. But obviously this is like a 50-50 fight, or maybe some people will say Walker should be a big favorite here, but I don't see it that way, and I'm going with Corey Anderson to pick up the third round finish via TKO here. And up next we have another great fight, man. Gregor Gillespie taking on Kevin Lee. And Gillespie's finally getting that step up in competition. He started his UFC career 6-0. And if he can defeat Kevin Lee, he's going to jump right in the mix with these top guys. And Kevin Lee's making the drop back down to 55s after he had that loss at 70s to RDA. And he's moved to TriStar for this camp. He's getting trained with Firas Zahabi, GSP. And all of Kevin Lee's issues have really been mental and cardio. So a new training camp, may fix some of those problems. But he's having a tough matchup here with Gregor Gillespie, and Gregor Gillespie is going to have the same game plan with everyone he fights. Backfires up with his forward pressure, shoot in on the single when he gets him near the black line, and he's excellent at shooting the single near the cage. He pushes opponents to the fence. He'll hang on you, ride on you, mat return you, get the tight waist circle to the back, just get you from that wrestling ride position and just wear you out, man. He's excellent at using a couple strikes to distract you, ducking under on the legs, just staying on you. And if he can backfires up near the fence, he's incredible. He's hard to deal with there. His control is just next level. He's one of the best wrestlers in MMA. He's a D1 national champion, 4-time All-American, and just amazing at scrambles as well. He always ends up on top. I mean, Yancy Medeiros had some slick sweeps where he used Granby rolls, but Gillespie was able to quickly get in on a leg, reverse position. And Gillespie's striking at range is a little bit suspect. He kind of throws the same combinations, and he's hittable, but he's willing to take a shot, and he throws hard 1-2s. He'll throw a left hook, straight right hand combination. He feints well. He'll feint takedowns, come up with the uppercut. He'll wing big right hooks and overhands, and definitely willing to brawl in the pocket. And a majority of his striking is to set up the takedowns, but you still have to respect his power. But he just doesn't move his head, and he's always a bull just coming forward, so he's there to be hit. He's been stunned with some big flying knees, punches in the past. But his last 3 fights, he's really barely gotten touched. He's dominated all of them. He got hit 1 time against Yancy Medeiros and just 7 times versus Vince Pichel and Jordan Rinaldi each. And he's getting better at safely getting inside with the striking, implementing his game plan without having to brawl with fighters to back him up. And people seem to think continuously getting up, creating scrambles will tire Gregor out, but his cardio is unrelenting. I mean, this guy seems to have a screw loose. He's a crazy competitor. He's kind of like a Tony Ferguson type guy. And I feel like he's going to be hard to stop, man. I feel like you have to kill him to keep him from coming forward. But that's something that Kevin Lee just hasn't shown. If this fight comes down to grit and want, Gregor is going to take this more likely than not. And when Gregor gets takedowns, he advances position like butter. He's excellent at passing or landing directly into side control off the takedown. Great control when he takes them out. Heavy ground and pound. He'll take the back. He'll look for arm triangles. Kevin Lee just got submitted by an arm triangle. And if he gets top position on Kevin Lee, I think he's going to be able to control him, beat him up, especially as the rounds go on. And maybe Kevin Lee will be able to stand up, but I think Gregor will be able to keep a hold of him, grind him against the fence. And Gregor comes hard and has a crazy pace. And Kevin Lee struggled with high-paced fights in the past, but Lee also is extremely fast as when he starts the fights. And when these fighters collide in round 1, it should be very fun. And I expect Kevin Lee to try to walk down Gregor, not back up, control the center, force him to fight in the middle of the cage. He cannot allow Gregor to back him up. And whenever he does, he's going to be losing. He has to control the distance with his boxing ability and just beat the brakes off Gregor on the feet. He's going to have a 4.5-inch reach advantage. And, he does have a very nice jab. He dropped RDA with the jab in round 1. His 1-2 is powerful. And, he's just a little further along with the striking development than Gillespie. He moves his head a little bit better. He'll implement some kicks, mid-combination, body, head. He likes to throw some nice hooks, straight right combinations. And, he needs to use his kicks in this fight. The round kicks to the body, leg kicks, front kicks, but set them up well so they don't get caught. And he may even look to rush Gregor and throw a flying knee or an uppercut, try to predict the level change. Lee also likes to use his striking and back fighters up in the cage, tie him up. And I do feel Lee is going to be the bigger and maybe physically stronger of the two guys. But I'm not sure he's going to want to engage in a clinch battle with Gregor. I just feel like whenever they're tied up, that favors Gillespie because Lee's going to be the guy that's the better striker, and he should just use that advantage. RDA, he was able to take Lee down fairly easy with double legs. And when he backed him up, Lee just didn't see the takedown shots coming. And Lee was able to get to his base, stand back up pretty easily a few times. And he maintained a very fast pace until he got tired in that fight. But, I just think the quick shots to the body lock to control against the cage are probably going to be enough for Gregor. RDA was able to do this, get him near the cage, but he couldn't control him when he was fresh. But when Lee got tired, RDA submitted him and dominated him on the mat. And I do think Gregor's going to have the same success. Have some success in the striking with the straight shots and kind of, returning after getting hit. And I think Gregor's going to get respect on the feet. And he's going to have to keep the pace high standing or going for takedowns and make Lee work. Lee is going to get taken down, in my opinion. I mean, the question is if you can avoid being controlled. And I don't think that Gregor will be able to control at times. But I do feel like he's going to be able to control against the cage even if Kevin Lee scrambles back to his feet. And he has to be careful not to let Lee win a scramble and move to the back or take top position. But Gregor's the faster scrambler, and I think Gregor's going to win this fight via submission in the third round or via decision. I just see him being able to tire Lee out, frustrate him by controlling him against the fence, landing short shots, keeping the tight waist, mat returning him. I think Lee's going to be looking at the ref, gesturing, and I think the crowd's going to be booing, but Gregor's going to be controlling and winning the fight. And I see Lee getting frustrated by that style, getting in his head, getting tired. And I think Gregor is just willing to dig deeper, get the job done. For Lee, I think he needs a first-round knockout to get the win here. But my pick's going to be Gregor Gillespie via third-round arm triangle submission here. And up next here, we have a heavyweight fight with Derek Lewis taking on Blagoy Ivanov. And, we kind of know the deal here. We have Derek Lewis, who's going to be the explosive guy, who's going to have probably the more potential of a knockout. But Blagoy is obviously the more technical guy with the better jab, better straight shots, better distance control. And, in this fight, I just feel like Blagoy is going to be able to use his jab to control the distance and attack the body. And I think that Derek Lewis is going to struggle to get inside. I think he's going to have a big speed disadvantage. But the thing is with Derek Lewis, man, especially in this fight where he's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage, and he's fighting a guy like Blagoy who's so hittable. I mean, Blagoy in his fight with Tuivasa did take a lot of shots, man. I mean, that wasn't like a blowaway for Blagoy. And I feel like Blagoy is, I don't know. I just don't think that he has that explosiveness in his game where he's going to be able to turn the lights out on a guy like Derek Lewis unless he just lands the perfect shot and catches Lewis as he comes in or catches him with something that he doesn't see coming. I think that he's going to have to be sharp for 3 rounds and really, really, really be very, very, very careful here and try to win a decision. I don't think that Lewis is going to be able to get this fight to the ground, even though, obviously he has that great ground and pound. I don't think Blagoy is going to try to take it down either. I think this is going to be a stand-up fight, and I think Blagoy is going to be winning the fight. I mean, I think he's the better fighter. I mean, he's the better striker. He has better technique and faster hand speed. I think that he's just facing a guy in Derek Lewis, man, who we've seen time and time again. I mean, he'll be losing the whole fight, and then just comes back, gets that knockout versus Travis Brown, versus Alexander Volkov, versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. And the thing is, these guys that Derek Lewis has had trouble with, a lot of guys. I mean, he did have trouble with Daniel Cormier, who's a smaller guy, but obviously he's a wrestler. And I guess he had trouble with Roy Nelson, who held him against the fence a little bit. But when he's fought these smaller guys, these shorter guys, like, he's been able to get a lot of these guys out of there. And he struggled against these guys that have very good range, and very fast, like Junior, Mark Hunt, and Alexander Volkov, guys like that. I feel like in this fight, he's going to be the guy coming forward, pushing the action, and it's just going to be whether he gets that knockout or not. If he runs out of time and Blagoy wins the decision, then he's going to lose the fight. But I'm going to say Derek Lewis gets a second-round TKO victory in this fight. I think he's going to just find his opportunity, come forward, land a big, combination, and take him out. So I'm going with Derek Lewis via second round TKO here. Man, I feel like I keep saying this. This is another awesome fight. Stephen Thompson taking on Vicente Luque. And Stephen Thompson, he's in desperate need of a victory. He's lost 2 consecutive fights. He hasn't won since his decision victory almost 2 years ago. Kind of ironically, it was on November 4th, 2017 in Madison Square Garden over Jorge Masvidal, so kind of weird there, but he will be looking to have another good night in New York. And for Vicente Luque, he's getting the massive opportunity to jump into the title fray at 170 pounds after winning 6 consecutive fights. He's fought some big names, and he has 5 finishes, and he's finished all but one of his UFC wins. And his last fight, which was a decision, he rearranged Mike Perry's face really bad. That fight was very close, though. It could have gone either way. Luque did get hit a lot in that fight, and he is pretty hittable. Needs to shore that up a little bit, but styles make fights, and this is going to be a much different matchup for Luque than Mike Perry. In the Perry fight, Perry was the hunter, he was coming forward, but Luque was also coming forward. I mean, that was one of the first times I've seen a guy push Mike Perry back so much in a fight. But in this contest, it's going to be Luque who's going to be pushing the action. I see Luque walking forward most of the time with the high guard, attacking with a lot of low kicks, trying to cut Thompson off, back him up, land hooks or overhands, whichever direction he tries to exit. And in the one fight, though, that Luque fought someone who's a mover in Leon Edwards, he did seem a little bit flustered by the range and the movement and the speed, and he tried to grapple a lot in that fight. And I feel he needs to try to mix it up to open up his strikes with the grappling. And if he can get Thompson on the mat, I do think he's going to have a pretty sizable advantage. And Thompson, he's going to be on his bike, moving, angling, working off the jab, giving different looks. And he's going to be the faster fighter with the footwork. Much faster, in my opinion, actually. And I see that being a key tail in the fight if he is to win. The front leg of Thompson is a problem, man. I mean, he's very hard to deal with. He's an elite counter fighter. His footwork is excellent, and when fighters get frustrated and start to attack reckless, that's when he gets the knockouts with the spinning back fist, his spinning kicks, and he's very hard to hit. But his last two opponents, they have landed a lot of leg kicks on him. And Thompson in a 3-round fight, though, I expect to come out hotter here, throw harder, look for more openings, and but I still think he's going to be smart in the way he engages. And he also has very good takedown defense as well. But he was taken down control of the mat by Tyron Woodley. And he did get beat up, sliced open. He was almost submitted with a guillotine. And, Thompson's durability may be going a little bit. He has been dropped in 4 of his last 5 fights. He was knocked out for the first time in his career in his last fight against Pettis. And he's fighting for his career here, basically. I mean, if he loses this fight, it may be time to hang him up. Because, if he loses this fight, he's going to be kind of in no man's land. And he has to know that he needs a win. And he's going to come in here extremely sharp, in my opinion. And I think he's going to be able to move and not get hit. I think his foot speed, I think his straight punch flurries, I think him coming over the top with the overhands, him using that front leg kick and always moving is going to, be helpful for him in this fight. Because I think Luque is a little bit stationary when he attacks. I think his foot speed isn't nearly as fast as Thompson's. And I think if this fight goes to decision, 7 or 8 out of 10, Thompson is going to win. And I think Thompson's going to be able to get the win via decision here, using the distance control, the front leg, the jabs, keeping Luque away. And I don't think that Luque is going to be able to take him down or control him against the fence. And, I think it's going to be similar to his fight against Jorge Masvidal. And because, when he fought Pettis, I mean, he was dominating that fight. Pettis landed that Superman punch, which was kind of like almost a fluke thing, man. And I don't think Luque, he's more, bread and butter where, you want to kind of do flashy stuff and brawl with the strikers, the technical guys like Steven, and then be technical against the brawlers. But, I just don't think that Luque, even though he could brawl in fights and he could turn up, I don't think that he has that diversity in his striking to be able to cut off and, be able to implement his game plan like that versus Stephen Thompson. So I'm going with Stephen Thompson via decision in this fight, and I think that he needs this win here badly to save his career. So I'm going with Stephen Thompson. And the co-main event here, Kelvin Gastelum taking on Darren Till. Darren Till is making that move up to 185 pounds. It's been a while where people have been saying, maybe he should make the move up, and now he's lost 2 fights in a row. He just got knocked out brutally. I mean, really brutally. His head was like bouncing off the canvas against Jorge Masvidal, and that was after his, brutal loss where he got completely dominated for the title against Tyron Woodley. And Kelvin, he's coming off that Fight of the Year candidate against Israel Adesanya, where he really pushed Israel, where they had a back and forth fight. He hurt Israel a few times, but couldn't get the job done, lost the decision there. And he's looking to kind of stamp himself as a guy that's going to be coming right back into that title picture. Him and Israel are going to be having a rivalry, and maybe he's going to get the belt next time. But Kelvin, he's very crisp hands, very good boxing, nasty jab, hard left hand down the middle, throws a lot of 1-2s. He'll mix in powerful left hooks, left uppercuts, good inside-outside leg kicks, good head kicks. And I feel he should throw more leg kicks in future fights. In this fight, though, I don't think the leg kicks are a great strategy because Till is very good at countering with the straight left hand. But Gastelum will attack the body with kicks, front knees. He'll throw occasional body hooks as well. And he uses a ton of fakes, feints, false starts, tries to keep his opponents guessing. And that paired with his foot and hand speed makes him a very unique test for the division because he slips and rips excellently. Elite head movement. And he's able to, come over the top with hooks, overhands that just take fighters out brutally, man. I mean, just ask Michael Bisping. And he also possesses an iron chin, elite cardio, and that gives him the ability to eat shots, continue to walk forward, try to find his own. And he showed that against Israel Adesanya, man. I mean, this dude can take a lot of punishment. But he has one-punch power in his left hand. I mean, he's dropped every single fighter that he's faced in 185 pounds. And he has 7 knockouts in his career. 8 if you count the knockout of Vitor, which was changed to a no contest. and that was because he was smoking weed. So, I mean, he has 8 knockouts, and he's never been finished by strikes. And Kelvin Gastelum, he's going to be the better offensive wrestler in this matchup. He likes to time reactive double legs. Usually he'll shoot him in space rather than against the cage. And he will try to snap his opponents down. If he can't get the double, try to drag his opponents to the ground. In this fight, though, I think using the single leg or any takedown attempt to quell the forward pressure and get Till thinking is smart. If he could feint the level change, come up into punches, you could catch Till clean. And Gastelum, he's very hard to hold down, much less... very hard to take down, much less hold down. And I don't really think he's going to have to worry about that in this fight. More likely than not, it's going to be on the feet here. I do feel that Gastelum will be the more likely fighter to attempt takedowns. And he does have good rear naked chokes. He has 6 career submissions. And he's only been submitted 1 time against Chris Weidman. And for Darren Till, he's a solid striker. He has a hands-low style. Keeps a long stance, and he has very good distance control, very good sliding in and out, controlling range, very good jab, good 1-2, and his straight left hand is really his money punch. Super accurate, fast, it packs power, good leg kicks, good oblique kicks, good footwork. He cuts the cage off well, he'll make it small. He was forcing Jorge Masvidal to fight against the cage a lot. And if he can get you defensive against the cage, he does do a good job landing hooks from whatever side you're trying to exit. Very good elbows. He'll step in with the elbows when our opponents are against the cage very well. He doesn't really attack the body much. And really in his last few fights, he's really only been looking for the 1-2 and the straight left hand. I mean, he will use a jab uppercut or jab overhand left also, but not much else. He needs to start implementing some different combinations. I mean, I feel ending the 1-2 with the round kick to the head could be effective. I feel maybe he should start attacking the body a little bit more, try implement a right hook. But he's dangerous. He has 10 knockouts, and he was just brutally knocked out for the first time in his career. And he's facing a fighter who has huge power, so that's an issue. But Darren Till is not an offensive grappler. He looked lost on the mat when he fought Tyron Woodley, but he is hard to get on side on due to his distance control, and he showed some solid takedown defense versus Woodley. He was able to defend all the takedown attempts. He looked physically strong in the clinch, and he's going to have a big size advantage here, even though he's coming up to 170 over Kelvin Gastelum, and he won't look to wrestle much, but he did show some good ground and pound versus Wendell Oliveira. When he did get dropped by Tyron Woodley, Woodley landed some brutal elbows, locked in that Darce. And, Till just didn't seem to have very good submission defense, very good submission awareness. He was hurt as well. I mean, he took a lot of damage, so, that also probably contributed to that. But Till has 2 submissions himself, and he's been submitted that 1 time. But I got Kelvin by knockout in this fight. I think his feint, fake, slips, boxing is going to be able to rule the day. I also think he's the better grappler. I think feigning level changes as well as going for a couple takedowns is going to be smart. And Gastelum has the more diversity in his boxing combinations. And inside, he has the much better defense, more short-range power. And I don't think Gastelum is going to back up. I don't think he's going to allow Till to control the center. I think he's going to hold his ground, try to counter, try to go forward, push Till back. And Gastelum on tape has to see really that he only has to avoid getting back up and hit with elbows in the clinch and just look for the 1-2 and the left uppercut. I mean, if he can avoid those shots, I think he's eventually going to catch Till in an exchange and put him out. And Gastelum, he's the more durable guy. He's never been finished in his career, and he's been fighting at this weight already. I think Till is going to start fast. I think he's going to try to get another first-shot knockout like he did against Jorge Masvidal. But I'm going to say in doing so, he leaves himself exposed, and Kelvin lands a left hook inside and knocks him out. So I'm going with Kelvin via knockout in round 1 here. And up next here, we have the main event, Jorge Masvidal taking on Nate Diaz, one of the biggest fights of the year here. And Jorge Masvidal, he enters the biggest fight of his life. He's the slight favorite, and he's leaped into stardom really after these back-to-back brutal knockouts. Everyone has seen his last fight by now. I mean, he had the 4-second knockout over Askren, had that brutal knockout over Darren Till, and he's been fighting over 15 years, and he's finally getting that notoriety he deserves. He's been on ESPN a ton in this build-up. I mean, he's been on like that Dan Le Batard show like 100 times, man. I mean, he's done a lot of media, and you kind of have to wonder if that's affected his training. But Masvidal, he's the type of guy who could probably roll out of bed with no training camp and go out and fight. And he's getting his 3rd main event and 3rd scheduled 5-round fight. And or I guess 4 scheduled 5-round fight. I'm sorry, because he had the scheduled 5-round fight with Darren Till that only went 2 rounds. But in the 2 fights that have gone 5 rounds with Gilbert Melendez and Benson Henderson, he's dropped both those decisions, and he has gotten a little bit tired in the later rounds. But Nate Diaz, he already had 1 win last week. I mean, he proved he's a bad motherfucker out of the cage once again. I mean, he got notified of that USADA suspension. Instead of playing ball their way, he went public immediately, turned the gun on USADA, and he forced him to expedite that testing process, exonerate him, or else he wasn't going to fight. And they exonerated him, and, thus we have a fight. The baddest motherfucker belt is on the line. Nate Diaz defending the belt. And we both know these dudes get down. I mean, it's going to be a war. Early on, I do see George being crisper, cleaner, being able to control range with his boxing footwork, mixing in leg kicks. He obviously is very good, fighting off of his back foot, moving backwards, countering. And he's talking a lot in this camp like he's going to go forward and meet him in the middle and they're going to go to war. But, I think George is kind of not playing his cards, because I think he's going to try to use that boxing going backwards. And early on, I do see him being crisper, cleaner, being able to control range, and just throw quicker combinations, be fast with the straight punches. And he does have a tendency to sit back and counter against pressure fighters. Even in his recent fight with Darren Till, he fought himself off the cage with some big actions, but Till was able to back him up multiple times. He did drop him with a straight left early on near the cage. And when he does that against Nate, he's going to have to deal with longer combos. He's going to have to deal with clinch and body work, more diversity in the punching, more volume. And he would have to land some huge counters in between Nate's shots to get him to back off. Nate's willing to eat shots, stay in your face, drown you. So something really significant needs to land to back him off. And I think Nate's going to continue to walk this fool down, though. Get his shots in 2, land his 1-2s, some slaps, some hooks. And eventually I think Nate has to get in the chest of George, get him up against the cage, dirty box, work the guy, make him fight behind the black lines. And Nate's gotten much better at cutting the cage off, checking kicks. We even saw him switching stances to cut the cage off versus Pettis. He even mixed in some nice takedowns. He got a nice single leg. He took the back, took the mount. He totally dominated Pettis on the ground. And I watched the grappling match between Anthony Pettis and Jorge Masvidal. They looked very, very similar on the mat in terms of their level. So I think if this does go to the ground, Nate's going to have a significant advantage in the jiu-jitsu. If George is in top position, who knows? George may be able to control him on top, but I don't really think he's going to try to do that. And Masvidal, he has broken under pressure before, and I kind of see this fight being very similar to the Conor McGregor versus Diaz 2 fight. I just think that Conor at the time had more power in his punches than George does. He was even more precise, and I think Nate's going to be able to eat the shots. If he gets dropped, survive by flopping to his back, because this fight goes to the mat. I think it's going to be Nate all day, even off his back. He dominated Pettis on the mat in his last fight, and I think that both guys won't look for takedowns much, but I do see Nate working dirty boxing, clinch works against the cage, and I just think Nate is going to be a cyborg, man. I think he's going to, come forward, force George to constantly be moving backwards, try to catch his kicks, try to, keep him on the back foot, and when he gets him against the fence, touch him, use those long combinations, land the big shots in between. And Nate's cardio is insane. I think, he's going to be able to keep at faster pace here than Masvidal. And this fight's just going to come down to, George is very explosive early. He's the better athlete in the fight. And he's the type of guy that, he could start you in the first round. Or the second round, or probably even the third round. But I think if this fight gets into the third round, I think that Nate's going to be the fresher guy. I think that Nate's going to be the guy walking him down, controlling the distance at that point. And Nate, man, I think Nate could get a finish here. I think he could finish him against the cage, but I'm going to pick Nate Diaz to win a decision 48-47, 49-46. And I just feel like in this fight that I just think Nate is going to be the guy constantly going forward, and the judges just like to see that. We've seen Jorge Masvidal lose these split decisions going on his back foot before, and we've seen him fight guys like Ali Quinta who, maybe are a little bit similar to Nate, but he doesn't have the reach of Nate, he doesn't have the jiu-jitsu of Nate, he doesn't have the boxing of Nate, he doesn't even have the chin probably of Nate. So it's like, I don't really know many guys that George has fought that are similar to Nate Diaz in terms of a guy that's going to continuously pressure this guy, has great jiu-jitsu, an undying will, great chin, great boxing. And I think Nate has fought guys like George a lot, where these guys that are slick, like Michael Johnson, or these guys that Conor McGregor, a lot of Melvin Gillard, where he has to kind of weather the storm early. He has to, zap a lot of the explosiveness with body shots, lose maybe the first couple rounds, get beat up, and eventually, this dude just starts wearing on these guys, and you see it in their faces when he's not getting out of there, and he's walking you down, and he has deceptive power himself, where he punched Conor McGregor to the ground. I mean, it's not like he took him down, really, and, it's, I'm going with Nate in this fight. I think Nate's going to be able to get it done here. I think that he's going to get the win, and, who knows what's next? I mean, I really don't know, but I think they're going to be a big fight for Nate next coming down the line. And, it should be a great fight. I mean, I'm pretty excited for it. I think everyone's pretty excited for this fight. And for the play of the week this week, I'm not going to do a parlay. It's just going to be a play of the week because the fighter that I like as a play is an underdog, and that's going to be Chance Rencountre. And for the most confident pick, I'm going to say Gregor Gillespie as my most confident pick of the week. So that's the breakdown video for UFC 244. Thanks for watching, guys. And make sure to comment, like, subscribe, like I said. Put down there in the comments who you're betting on. If you agree with my picks, if you think I'm way off, you think I'm fucking crazy, whatever you want to say. And, I'll be back next week for that November 9th card. Calvin Kattar taking on Zabit, I think, in the main event now. I think it's only 3 rounds, though. But that should be a good fight. But right now, all the focus is on this week, UFC 244. Should be a sick card. I'm really looking forward to it. And make sure, like I said, to check out the PFL video if you haven't seen that. It is on the channel as well. So thanks for watching, guys. And let's have fun watching these fights on Saturday.